welcome to another evening of frank conversation here on Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. May 29th this year marked the first anniversary for President Tinubu and many governors who were elected for the first time last year. But more importantly, signposted Nigeria's clocking of a quarter of a century in unbroken democratic rule. Many have questioned the nexus between our system of government and the welfare it should deliver to citizens. And one of the areas to think about this, after food, security and clothing, is in the area of shelter. Governments over the years have tried to crack the tough nut of affordable shelter for the citizens of Nigeria with very little success. Can the Tinubu administration, with its ambitious plan of providing 100,000 houses for Nigerians within the next 18 months, solve the troublesome problem of affordable shelter for the country's teeming population? On Hard Copy tonight, I speak with architect Nya Etok, who has had over 30 years of experience in the housing sector and is now serving as the Executive Director, Estate Services at the Federal Housing Authority in the Ministry of Housing. Architects, it's good to see you again. Last time I spoke with you was during the elections, or just before the elections. But right now, as you said before in a number of interviews, we are now in the era of governance.
Thank you.
For many years, we've spoken about deficit in the housing sector. I recall very vividly the controversy that came up with the former minister, Babatunde Fashola, talking about 17 million houses deficit. And he questioned in that particular statistic, saying, where is it from? Who's been doing the counting? And it was since that time, there's been a quiet on the statistics of housing. Would you really say that we have a deficit in housing, or we have a deficit of affordable housing?
We have a deficit of affordable housing and more so social housing. You see, housing is basically, I did a segmentation which I think has been literally adopted internationally. Housing to have three basic segments. You have luxury homes where the rich people play. You have affordable, where the organized private sector basically play. And then you have social housing, which is a subsidized housing and primarily the responsibility of government. And it so happens that for the luxury homes, I mean, we understand when we talk about that. On affordable housing, you realize that maybe it gets to less than 5 to 7% of our population, okay? The rest fall into social housing. These are people that, if you look at their salary, I'm going by global standard, you are not expected to use more than 1/3 your income, for housing. You realize that a house of about 5 million is not affordable to even somebody on grade level 14. So you can imagine, I mean,
when you say 5 million, are you talking about rent, or you're talking about the cost of the house?
Owning the home.
Owning the house.
Yes.
Is there a house that's 5 million naira these days?
I'm just trying to get ridiculous. And yes, you could have something like that in that neighborhood. Abuja is not Nigeria. It's just a part of Nigeria. Yeah. No, it's Lagos. Well, you have Yobe, you have Daba, Akwa Ibom, you have, Imo.
But the cost of materials, unless, of course, the cost of materials being used varies. If it's the same cement, for instance, the same iron rods, roofing sheets, they most likely would not vary from region to region, will they?
They would, in a sense. Because cost of labor is very important.
Cost of labor, but the materials themselves.
The materials are basic. Again, the finishing, determines what you have. And apart from the finishing, the size, getting the cost of a house is a function of 1, 2, 3 variables. You talk about the land, you talk about the size, you talk about the finishing, and of course, let's not leave funds out.
Well, recently, I think the Minister of Housing had calls to launch this Renewed Hope Cities, they're called. And we heard the ambitious plan to, get 126.5 billion. Is that Naira?
Naira, yes.
Naira. To build 100,000 homes within 18 months. Tell us about that. Where's that coming from?
Okay, two things. First is that I don't work in the Ministry of Housing, so I'm a little careful, and I'm,
You're not involved in that?
No, FHA is not involved in that. Federal Housing Authority. I can say that authoritatively, because in the renewed hope housing agenda, you have basically two arms that are doing things. The third arm is the organized private sector. You have the Ministry of Housing. They have a specific program and project, and in virtually all of them I attend, because there's a very, very good working relationship between the Honorable Minister and the Federal Housing Authority, then the Federal Mortgage Bank. Then on our side, you also have the Federal Housing Authority Mortgage Bank, FHA Mortgage Bank. But because of the relationship between all of us, we are able to not synergize. But there is another window where recently Mr. President was able to unlock about 2 trillion for infrastructure and Federal Housing Authority and Federal Mortgage Bank. Specifically infrastructure, then housing. Within the context of housing, the president specifically mentioned Federal Housing Authority, Federal Mortgage Bank. So that window is where we play at the Federal Housing Authority. So I would like to, as much as possible, so I don't misinform, get myself within the window of Federal Housing Authority.
Just for clarity and for the sake of our viewers,
yes.
You are not involved in the 100,000 houses coming up within the next 18 months. That is not under your purview. That's
not under our purview.
As FHA.
Talking about Federal Housing Authority.
Okay, so what's under your purview then? Good. Estate services?
Good. No, that's under Federal Housing Authority, where I'm the ED Estate Services. So when we talk of Federal Housing Authority, Mr. President has unlocked about 2 trillion naira. Out of the 2 trillion naira, he's going to use a good chunk of it for infrastructure development and a good chunk of it for housing. Within the housing subsector, they are going to make available to us money for construction in Federal Housing Authority. Now, to make sure that we have off-takers, he's also getting a reasonable amount into Federal Mortgage Bank so that we can have as much as 20 to 25 years mortgage arrangement. This is what has been missing for a very long time. We've been having a situation where housing is like cash and carry. And when you go to any of these PMIs, the primary mortgage institutions, they will tell you, oh, we can give you 2 years mortgage, 5 years mortgage, 3 years. And that's not mortgage. Mortgage has to be like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. That's when the first-time home owners who are probably 20, 22 can afford to take a loan for a house, knowing that at 2022, they have like almost 35 years before they can get to 60. It means they also have full working years of 30 years wherever they are working. So you can give a mortgage to them knowing that they have a long repayable period, but you can only give such mortgage if such long-term funds are available. They've never been available. So for the first time in the history of Nigeria, and I can say this, you know me well, authoritatively, that this is the first time that the first-time homeowner, the young person who has just left school, who has just gotten employment, can have hope of owning a house because he has funds that he can repay the house over a period of 20 years, 25 years.
It's a good thing that you're planning and everything has to be dotted. I'm sure that, even those in the real estate sector will be watching this and saying, how do you intend to do that? How can you be so certain in an area or within a climb when things have not been settled? We've seen what's happened with building materials over the cost of, let me say, in the last 6 months, for instance, where the price of cement has skyrocketed, iron rods have been almost affordable, making nonsense of the plans that a lot of ordinary developers have.
I'll tell you, there are the different concerns, and before Mr. President took this, a lot of things went in-house. I'll tell you, as at today, we've been on the seat for about 3 months. As at today, we have visited 22 states and talked with 22 governors one-on-one. You don't just give us land, we must go and see where the land is, because we don't want this shagari housing. You go and build houses in the bush where nobody's going to stay there. But I must at this point really, should I say thank God, but thank the governors. The places they've given us land is unbelievable. You know, if you are from Plateau State, Jos, to tell you that the land is on Rayfield, it's like, wow, serious? Or you go to a place like, where virtually everywhere we go. In Akwa Ibom, it's on Airport Road, about 7 minutes from the airport. In every single location we have gone. And we have this MD that we call Roadmaster. We've gone by road to 22 states. And it's been really, when you want to take something serious, we've been put and we've given the highest level. So number one, we've gotten all the land free with compensation. Assuming the land was to go for $1 billion and compensation $1 billion, it means $2 billion is already taken off the cost of the houses. So to get it to be affordable, we're getting the land free, we are getting the compensation done. We are networking with major, manufacturers like the cement companies for us to get. In fact, we want to even see the possibility of getting branded. It's going to. That's how far we want to go, so that when you give us your cement, you know that it's going to be for this specific project. So we are going to much details. We are getting funds at a very good rate. On account of all this, we are going to be able to deliver houses to a good number of people that we are giving them, either through the FHA Mortgage Bank or through other PMIs. We're giving them mortgage arrangement of 20 to 25 years.
When you talk about affordable, are you looking at the current, earning capacity of the average civil servant? I do not know what grade level that will be, because sadly I have never really worked in the government sector. But, whatever level that is, maybe that will be grades level 11 to say 14 or thereabout. What exactly will constitute affordability given the current earning capacity of the average civil servant?
I'll tell you. Now, for the first time in a housing delivery chain, we are not sitting in Abuja and deciding what goes on in Akwa Ibom or doing things and imposing on them. We are sitting with the governor of each state, their commissioner for either land or housing, working out the affordability, working out the cost profile, working out the design for each location.
So you say it varies from state to state?
It varies from state to state. And by the time
an average of how much are you looking at?
I'll tell you this. By the time that we finish working and showing the governor, for instance, today we were with the governor of Yobe State. I just rushed in from there. And he said, listen, by the time I finish, he's done about 2,350 housing units in Yobe, all taken up.
By himself?
Yes.
Okay.
He said, by the time I finished the cost profile and looked at it and looked at the affordability profile of our people, I realized that I had to step down the cost by 50%. So it became affordable. So we are networking with every state government. Let's see your beneficiaries list. Let's do a profiling and affordability table of all of them. Then you look at it, and the question is, how many of your people can afford a house of 5 million? Sir, we can only do 150 housing units. He says, no. I'm going to give 50% subsidy. I said, wow, we can now do 500, because from the affordability profiling, this is what is possible. That is what we are doing. And the governors have become very interested, because they said for the first time, people are coming to sit down with us and talk with us and ask our input and ask our people and affordability and everything. So let's have a partnership. And that's what we've been doing.
So you're partnering with the state government?
Partnering with every
But still,
state
you're not able to give a figure of, of what that will constitute,
because
what
that will be a television stuff.
Yeah, but people want to know.
Yeah, they want to know. So what we're doing, we're opening a portal, and that's going to come up very, very soon. And you're able to click, and for each location, because we are location specific, for each location, you're going to see the house type. Another thing that we're doing to make sure that it's affordable, and I really want to commend my MD, CEO, Honorable Oyetunde Ojo, for this. He said, look, Guys, why do you want to finish the house for these civil servants? Do semi-finished. You know, semi-finished means you build it up, you can even do the external. Don't put tiles for them. Let them decide the sort of tiles they want to put and the cost. Because these finishings is where there's a lot of cost element coming into. You know, this guy knows where to go and get tiles, you know, at a more affordable. And not only that, he's willing to tile his bedroom first and just enter his bedroom.
So how are you making sure that it is the people who really need it that are getting it? Because that has been a major challenge over the years.
Beautiful. Two things. First is there's a portal, you put your profiles and everything. Second is the state governor. The governor, and we are working with organized labor. They know them people, okay? And they are, I would say this, they are our first priority.
Organized labor is your first priority?
They are our first priority.
In other words,
in other words, we're able to know who is who because they know themselves. But outside, you don't know who that is. But organized labor, they know who their people are. And sometimes a governor might say, look, people in grade levels 1 to 7, do you understand me? I want to give them 80% discount. So the organized labor will know the exact people on grade level. So a PAMSEC can't go on that list because they know themselves. So it's a very organized system that we've put in place. And I think that Nigerians will realize that things can actually be done and done right in this country. Well,
urban renewal is one of the areas that the FHA is focusing on. I know that you did say that you're not just looking at Lagos and Abuja, but the residents of Abuja, for those who live in federal housing projects, they have been unhappy for quite a while because they would say that their areas have been abandoned. And even pleased to the minister, for instance, he's had to say, look, you're not under my purview. That is under the FHA. What's happening with rejuvenating the estates that have been built in the past?
Those happen to be directly under my directorate. For instance, Gwarimpa is directly under me, Festac Town is directly under me, and so many estates of the FHA, the Apoguzape estate is under me, all the FHA estates. And last 2 weeks, I was at a meeting at Festac because we can't just close our eyes to what's happening again. Festac used to be the pride of Nigeria. People used to come from outside, the other West African countries, just to take a look at Festac. Now, something happened 2 weeks back. I was in a meeting with the Festac resident, and a man was literally in tears that he left Ireland 40 years ago to come and live in Festac because it was the most beautiful thing, and that is one of the biggest regrets of his life. And all of them are of the opinion that we must get back Festac to what it was.
Can you get back Festac?
No, you can't.
Hasn't been too many years.
Yeah, no. You see, we abandoned Festac, and I say that to our shame, and because it's unfortunate we did that. But it's better late than never. So we've made up our minds, and in that meeting, it was an awesome meeting. Though somebody erroneously reported, sensationalism that FHA wants to demolish 12,000 housing units. If we are to restore the original master plan, we have to demolish about 18,000. But nobody can do that. For instance, the window corridor for roads that we kept at 60 meters, people have so much encroached that we tried to reduce it to 45 meters. We've tried to reduce to the barest minimum to be able to have it. Then the internal roads, there are some roads in Festac that 2 cars cannot pass. I mean, is that terrible? So we are like, look, we must have 2 cars pass. And we had a networking with the residents, and they've agreed that there's going to be some casualties, probably up to maybe less than 2,000 from 18,000. That's to what extent we have. But there are certain things that must happen.
What earning capacity are you looking at? People within what earning levels? People within what earning levels should be able to afford the houses you have in mind?
I'm called Mr. Social Housing in Nigeria. Social housing is for lower medium income earners, low income earners, and no income earners.
No income?
No income. That's what social housing is. That's why social housing is subsidized housing, and it is the primary responsibility of government. We want to make sure that the person on grade level 1, even if it's a 1-bedroom, not all of them, some of them own, there must be that provision. FHA is willing to bend over backwards, You know, you do a cut and fill, cross subsidy. We want to be sure that in FHA, every staff has access to land. Every staff, including the cleaners, and then from there we work out the possibility of them owning a house, even if it's 1 bedroom. Every staff of FHA as a policy. Government can actually take up housing as social infrastructure and have that as a policy. So what you do is, like social infrastructure, like hospital, you build it because everybody deserves a home. The fact that you're a cleaner does not make you less Nigerian than any other Nigerian. That's why government is there. And I want to really commend some governors. When my brother Akpabio, the current Senate president, was the governor, there were certain houses that we built for 12 million and he sold it for 500,000 naira. He did. I was a consultant, so I can say it with authority. So governments have to come to realize that housing the poor, their workers, every worker, is their responsibility. If you look at chapter 2, section 14, subsection 2b of the Constitution, it says that the security and welfare of the people shall, and you know in legal parlance, shall is stronger than will or must, shall be the primary purpose of government. And that time has come when we are going to go into cross subsidy, you take from the rich, give to the poor, and make sure that Nigerians are accommodated incrementally.
So you're looking at a time when we shall be able to do away with slums?
Yes. When you do that mixed development, where you put the rich and the poor, what is usually the problem is when you go and designate a certain area for the poor people. You just lump them there. Before you know it becomes a slum, because the question is, what is the upgrading, dynamics that you have for that? Zero. So, but we've come up in FHA, we've come up with certain templates that will make, the estates that we have to be self-sustaining.
You do know that you're going to be playing a catch-up game. The fact that, our population is increasing exponentially,
yes.
The needs are still there.
Yes.
The houses that you're going to be
Yes.
building, you do not have enough.
Yes.
There's still going to be a rush
Yes.
for them. So,
Yes.
It all sounds very grand and grandiose, but the actual implementation is going to be a Herculean task.
That is one of the most important statements that you have made. It is already a Herculean task. I can't tell you what it means for me to go to about 22 states of Nigeria in 3 months by road. It's Herculean. But you see, a time has to come when we Nigerians must know that we have to pay a price for what we want. We've got to be willing to pay a price. It's not all about you, what you can get. What can you also give to this country? If we do it right, like I know we will, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a lot more funds unlocked for housing, and then we would have started the journey of 1,000 miles with not just a first step, but not just a first leap, but a quantum leap. And I'm happy with the core of people that we have now. And it's for me to just appeal to politicians. Don't come and want to get contract, because the profit margin is not the sort of contract profit margin. If the contract profit margin is applied, the houses will no longer be affordable. So for once,
But you still have to do contracts to get them built.
Contract, we understand what contract margin is. Government gives about 20%, did I say 20? 35 to 40% margin in some contracts. But we are going to work with the sort of people that we call social landlords, who know that the more margin, the higher the price. The higher the price, the less affordable. And we're targeting the poor. So you come in, you're going to recover your cost, do you understand me, with marginal profit. That's the easy. What you sow is what you reap. In Nigeria, let me take a retiree. A retiree wants to do the contract. He says, I need more money, I need more margin. You add more margin, okay? And then the delivery cost is to buy. He said, no, it's too much, it's too much. It was too much because you wanted more margin. So why don't we just get a marginal margin so that the price is lower? A time has to come when we in Nigeria have to address ourselves first and know that what we sow is what we reap.
When will this portal open? This portal which you've spoken about?
We are rounding off our state within the next 2-3 weeks maximum. We've already undertaken digitalization within FHA. Internally, we've completed that. We are also test running these portals and everything. So as soon as we finish this and want to start, which I believe within the next 1 month maximum, for FHA, because we are very detailed, absolutely so.
Well, we'll catch up with you when eventually the project starts and is on the ground, maybe in the next 1 year. But we have to thank you for coming on Hard Copy.
What a privilege. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's the program tonight. We would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on affordable housing? Please speak with us using the handles showing on your screen. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Good night.